So let me share the slides and we can get started. Well, first of all, thanks everyone for being here with us today. I'm Stelios, the CEO of the Tesseract Academy. We're an organization whose mission is to help professionals as well as companies get started with AI, data science, and Web3. We've been operating for about 7 years now, and we split our activities between education as well as consulting. So in terms of the speakers today, it's me and Dr. Ferry van Echteld. I'm an AI expert and data scientist with more than 10 years of experience, 3 times published author. So my background is very technical. And everything I talk about when I'm discussing AI or when I'm giving you tips really comes from my own experience, right? Most of my career has been with startups, but I've also worked with organizations of all sizes across many industries. Ferry, would you like to share a few words about your experience?
Yes, yeah, sure. Well, welcome everyone. So my name is Ferry, originally Dutch. I'm a serial entrepreneur. I am also an academic. I am a doctor. However, not necessarily in AI and data science, but I worked in deep tech in innovation for corporates such as Philips and Canon. In the last 20 years, I've been involved in various corporate ventures in the energy industry, IoT, smart homes industry. In the last 10 years, I'm helping startup and scale-ups getting investment ready and joining them probably for about 12 to 18 months on their journey and getting ready. I have a very much a cross-functional background, so I've worked in procurement, customer insights, in finance strategy. So I understand the power and the importance of data and data-enabled solutions, and I'm happy to share some of my experiences, which I think help guide and into the very new, exciting era that we've just embarked upon with all sorts of new opportunities arising, but also risks. So we'll cover that in a moment. But that's me in a nutshell.
Perfect. Thank you, Ferry. Yeah, as I mentioned, of 3 times published author, still having one toe in academia. My first book, The Decision Maker's Handbook to Data Science, I recently got its 3rd edition. So now it's called The Decision Maker's Handbook to Data Science and AI. So if you want a copy of the book, feel free to shoot me an email. And actually, there will be some more things we'll be sharing later today. Oops, sorry. So I'll be more than happy to hear from you. So this presentation is for any of the following, like entrepreneurs, CEOs, C-suite, managers, any kind of level, and anyone who really wants to learn more about how AI can be leveraged for better results. And before you understand the potential of AI for your business, you need to be able to ask the right questions, right? So you need to be able to ask, okay, what are the opportunities there, right? What are the risks? How can I learn to assess those and work with them? Is my organization knowledgeable enough? Is it data literate, let's say, or would I say more like AI literate these days? Can I develop transition paths? I guess this is something that points 4 and 5, they're more of a concern for bigger organizations because startups, they're quite often agile and they don't suffer from these types of problems. Why now and what first, right? So every time there is a new trend in the market, AI now being one, you see a lot of people, like a lot of tools, everyone says a bit of everything, right? So, and this can create a lot of confusion. And this is where you have to figure out where you need to start from, right? Where can you find the best ROI? How do you manage the risk to benefits ratio, and so on and so forth. And obviously, this leads us to the 7th point: are you driven by FOMO, or do you actually care about making real change? And where's the low-hanging fruit, right? So if, for example, we're talking about a bigger organization, you have to look into your data. If we're talking about a startup, you might have to look into which one is the easiest way to generate IP, for example. And Ferry, would you like to take over this part?
Yeah, sure. So why invest in AI? And I don't mean this as an investor, but invest time, capacity, and I guess budget to either train or to develop applications to improve part of your business or organization you work for. And they're basically at a high level 4 different reasons and drivers that I've seen why companies can benefit. Innovation and differentiation is obviously always the North Star, like we can do something new and better, which is absolutely true. You can do that. And I think now is also the right time where you can develop, at least temporarily, I don't think, a competitive advantage. And especially in some sectors where innovation is paramount. So I've been working with AI applications across the agri-tech sector, cybersecurity, fintech, customer journey redesigns, in the medical industry, around deep learning applications. So it is absolutely essential whether we like it or not. What we see the most viable reason why to invest in AI is actually cost reduction, doing things more with less, a more seamless customer experience, or to write your own emails and spell check. We've all been using AI in one form or another. Enhanced data analysis. I remember 12 years ago, we were looking already at a big data pool around how we can create predictive maintenance for boilers here in the UK. So make sure that right now, winter, we're not leaving any customers out in the cold. So it does give us the tools to now to really quickly and more accessible to do enhanced data analysis. And future-proofing. Business models are bound to be challenged and turned upside down, whether we're in a globalized world or in a more, inward-looking world, which we may enter into. It will remain a rapidly evolving technology landscape, so you need to keep up. So those are the main reasons why I think we should pay attention and invest in AI. My perspective is that an organization, like we were referring to earlier, should not go head in first. You really need to be systematic about, okay, what does it mean? What are the conditions for my organization, as small or as not for profit, multinational, just national, what those are. So that structure and that thinking with your team is really really important to go on that journey.
So the rise of AI has been largely driven by large language models. And just a note here, there's going to be a Q&A at the end of the session, and we're more than happy to elaborate on any aspect, whether it's technical or not, right? And the market is projected to grow very aggressively over the next few years, and we've been seeing a crazy amount of investment into this technology. And recently, there was a cohort of people from OpenAI who just left the company to start their own AI businesses, and they all raised ridiculous amounts of money. One of the co-founders of OpenAI also created a new company. He raised, I think, no, actually he left, and then his company was acquired. He was giving a budget of 1 billion, right, to build the next generation of AI. So essentially what we're going to be witnessing in the next few years is a rapid acceleration of this area. So in terms of the differences between AI and more traditional machine learning data science, is that what is now currently called artificial intelligence is primarily focused on automation as well as language. So it becomes an amazing tool in reducing costs, improving productivity, and it provides very good synergies with other technologies. Traditional data science and machine learning is more focused on extracting value from data, which frankly, quite often, this is what the business needs. But now it feels like it's been overshadowed to some extent by the hype around the large language models and AI. However, something which is very important to state is that the hype in AI has also facilitated an increasing popularity in data science and more traditional machine learning techniques. In terms of use cases of artificial intelligence, there's a ton, right? So as I mentioned, most of them now they're around large language models and related technologies in generative AI, like video production and images and so on and so forth. And they all relate to primarily improving productivity or replacing human workers with some form of AI, especially in domains like marketing. That's an extensive list. I'm not going to read it out because we'll be sharing this presentation anyway with anyone who wants to um, learn more about this later. And also in the Q&A session in the end, we're more than happy to elaborate upon each one of those aspects. I guess some of the most prominent case studies are around customer support automation. Vodafone has already taken this step. Fraud detection is one where AI and machine learning, they are used a lot. And this was actually even before the current rise of AI. Recommender systems, so I think any B2C type business these days, like in the retail space or otherwise, is making use of recommendation. Amazon is the most prominent example, but this doesn't mean that this technology cannot be used by smaller companies as well. We have actually built recommender systems for very, very small companies, even startups. Predictive maintenance is another interesting case study. Marketing. So it feels like we're going to enter an era where there's going to be maybe one person doing the work of a whole marketing and sales team through the use of AI. AI in healthcare as well is very powerful. Actually, Demis Hassab is the founder of DeepMind, which is a very big London-based AI company. Recently received a Nobel Prize for some work related to biology and the use of AI in DNA, and the same work is actually being applied now to discover new drugs. And then also supply chain optimization or other forms of optimization in logistics. That's another very popular case study. And now let's move on to discuss when data science R&D is worth the investment. Ferry, would you like to take this one over? You're on mute.
Apologies. In terms of the next level question, which is not only when am I engaging with adopting AI, but actually using my data that I've got to develop your own IP, your own unique differentiator. And it sounds very trivial, but you need to have data. And often people don't realize that they are having valuable data. So you can adopt two approaches. One is, what can I learn? What data do I have and what can I do with it? Or you have something in mind, I need to achieve this certain outcome, and then you can engage to figure out how to deploy the different approaches to achieve that. Sorry. 1 second. Stelios will be talking about in a moment about, for example, how you automate a process or create a predictive model. There's all sorts of sub flavors and approaches that how you can engage and develop based on your own data, your own models and improvements. Over to you, Stelios.
Yes, thank you, Ferry. So in terms of the different flavors of more traditional data science and machine learning, I'm going to present a very brief overview. The point being that quite often what businesses need is not necessarily some advanced form of AI, but something a bit more traditional, which can still work alongside AI, right? So if anything, the things I'm going to cover in the next 3 slides, they get super powered by AI. And the first layer, usually the first layer of data science and analytics is what we call descriptive analytics. Yeah. So things like Excel dashboards, data collection, basic data strategy, so on and so forth. So this layer now can actually be done very effectively through the use of AI. So if you upload a data set on ChatGPT, as long as it's not beyond a certain size, I'm not sure what the file size limit is currently for ChatGPT, for the premium version, we can get some graphs and a nice interpretation of the data. It's not perfect, so now it's not the time to fire your business analyst. However, this is a very good indication of where the market is heading towards them. Yeah. So in the next few years, we're going to see entire departments essentially be reduced to a couple of people who are going to be running these types of analysis using AI. This can also be said for predictive analytics, and which is really the bread and butter of machine learning. In the last few years, there was a lot of discussion around what we used to to be called narrow AI, right? That is an application of intelligent algorithm within a very narrow domain. Things like forecasting sales, customer churn, fraud detection, predictive maintenance, so on and so on and so forth. So these are some of the most powerful use cases. And again, through the combination of AI and machine learning, it's very easy to roll this out. And if anything, we're also working on a product of our own that will facilitate the creation of these types of pipelines. So someone without any, let's say, real knowledge of AI or machine learning, they will be able to upload the data set and then get back a predictive pipeline. And then the final layer of automation is around prescriptive analytics, which is around full-blown automation. So, for example, Amazon has this vision, right, of a business that is purely run by AI, all the way from optimizing its logistics to managing items in the warehouse, deliveries, and so on and so forth. So this is probably way too advanced for most organizations, and it requires considerable shifts in culture as well as the understanding of AI and data science. So in this regard, I think it's a very interesting vision, which may not apply to everyone. And now let's move on towards the end of the presentation, where we're going to discuss how to get started with AI. So the first thing that you need to decide is whether you're going to build or buy, because both options are available. So in terms of building, there's a lot of options now, and building a new type of AI, large language model, some kind of integration pipelines has become easier than ever. However, there are certain benefits to buying a solution. The main one being that it's the cost, right? The initial cost. So maybe in the long run, the cost is higher if you don't own the IP, but in the short run, it's just easier to get started in certain ways. So this is the answer to this question is something we can help you with, but it's usually a combination of things like resources, IP, data privacy. In certain cases, like in the financial sector, it's very difficult to use outside solutions. You need something on premise. The speed of implementation, customization, and so on and so forth. In terms of tools, that's usually the best way to get started, like just buy a tool, subscribe to a tool for things like marketing departments, things like that. And there's a lot of them out there, right? And there's actually a list that we can share with you if you just want to drop us an email, and we'll be actually following up after the end of this session, where we explain the different types of tools, the categories, how you can use them. And something which we found quite interesting while we were compiling this list, which contains more than 100 tools, is that some more traditional tools, now they're also integrating AI, right? So you can see AI everywhere, from Google Ads all the way to Zapier, for example. And choosing the right tools is a combination of many factors, like the cost, the quality, the friendliness, the versatility, and so on and so forth. And this is something that we can actually help you with through our AI strategy service. Also, on our website, you're going to find an interactive visualization. We're going to be sharing this. It's on our blog, where you can navigate like different categories of tools depending on the size of the company you work for or the type of theme that you're interested in, from AI learning and education to marketing to collaboration and productivity or other areas. And finally, before we close off and we move on to the Q&A session, some words on some of the final considerations you need to take into account when you want to get started with AI. Ferry, would you like to take this one up?
Yes, thank you, Stelios. There's always a risk of being overwhelmed. There's excitement about what the opportunities are. And then when the waves of experimentation and awareness increases, then also the regulators catching up. And we're now in that phase where whether you are a user, an adopter, or a reseller, or really literally you develop your own applications and sell it on, we all need to keep an eye on what AI regulation, compliance, governance, ethics, and liability. So especially EU has been trying to catch up very quickly, and knowing how to, you can't keep up with everything or know how deep you need to go. So you need to organize yourself select the right sources, be it people or online, on online blogs, to make sure that you are not caught out and incur extra risks when you adopt generative AI or AI and process data of customers, staff, suppliers, etc. So I'm very keen always as an advocate, as boring as it is, it's incredibly important to know what's going on in these areas. And we'll be organizing separate deep dives, what that means. So stay tuned for some really great speakers, knowledgeable. One of the questions which it is also very important to set the right expectations. How can we develop and protect IP in the era of ChatGPT 5? This has also got to do, again, about legislation. Ireland, EU, California, and different areas, they will all have slightly different views on who is the IP owner, or to what degree has the human being been prompting the creation of something that is really valuable. So again, you'll need expertise or someone who can translate quite quickly to make sure you're not focusing on something that ultimately you can't protect via a patent application. So again, you'll have to seek advice on that. Here are 5 topics, but I'd like to welcome anyone to submit in the chat their burning deep dive as a topic. We can lay that on and organize that for you next year. So some of the topics are, on the top is raising capital for AI driven ventures, with the market having taken a downturn, particularly in the very early stage ventures. So that's coming up on the 3rd of December. The other one topic is really more for our UK audience, which is around how can I qualify and benefit from R&D tax credits. Again, these are all government-backed schemes. So we'll look at that, how that's possible. How can I understand the potential, as we discussed, valuable IP around my AI work? Go-to-market strategy. There's a lot of tools, a lot of people out there saying how they can, promise the world. We're going to take a deep dive of someone who has actually backed his solution up with different sciences, not just AI, but also human sciences. So it will be a discovery rather than a pure promotion. And finally, regulation compliance. We're going to have a deep dive in that as well. We'll also take a US perspective and different in different continents. So please add if something is missing that is a burning topic that matters to you, and we'll try to come up with a good session.
Perfect. So now we're closing off, and I'd like to invite you to drop us a note, but we'll also be following up with you in case you need any help, any assistance getting started with AI and data science. We have a unique framework we've created which guides you through AI adoption and helps you identify the right path. Should you build or should you buy, as well as understand which are the best tools for you to use, navigating this maze that we outlined earlier, like all the different considerations, cost, expectations, user friendliness, and so on and so forth. So feel free to just drop me directly an email, but we'll also be going to be sharing a form with everyone who registered for this event in case you want to get access to this, as well as the tools visualization, which we shared with you earlier today. So these are my personal contact details. Thank you, Mirna. And I guess that's the end of the presentation, and we're more than happy to move on to the Q&A. So any questions? I mean, we're a very small crowd today, so feel free to ask anything, even if it's technical.